mission is a long-winded, flat, and ultimately pretentious manhandling of a classic. It's a perfect example of why Kafka did not want the story illustrated when it was published. John?
All right, Stewart. In any event, it's always nice to have the former First Lady in town. Nick is up next with his forecast on what the Morning Rush Hour is going to be like.
And guess who's back? As was former First Lady Nancy Reagan. They came to see Mikhail Baryshnikov in his Broadway dramatic debut in Kafka's Metamorphosis. We get a review now from Joel Siegel.
Metamorphosis is not what I expected. It's not Franz Kafka's short story turned into a play. At first I was surprised, and with hopes so high, it's the opportunity to see Baryshnikov on stage, I was afraid I would be disappointed. Oh no, it's not a play, it's something more. Scored, spoken, and danced, call it a theater piece, and it's incredible theater.
I'm a commercial traveler. I have to work to keep that.
The story of Gregor Samsa, a traveling salesman whose endless work supports his unappreciated family, who wakes up one morning as his own nightmare, a huge insect. Without makeup, without a costume, Mikhail Baryshnikov, certainly the greatest dancer of his generation, becomes this bug before our eyes. It's an astonishing metamorphosis. Look at the way director and adapter Steven Berkoff uses shadows. The only weakness, the score, but the sound effects that amplify Baryshnikov, again, incredible.
And I can swing and rock backwards and forwards.
This is an evening I will not forget. It's a word I don't get to use often, but this is truly art. Baryshnikov in Metamorphosis. It's a limited run, so you'd better do just that. Run to get tickets. I'm Joel Siegel, Channel 7 Eyewitness News on Broadway.
Now, that's really interesting.
Tonight he stars in a one-act play called Metamorphosis, a drama where the ballet dancer turns into a bug. Peter's here now with a slight case of laryngitis and a review.
Thank you, Sue. Well, not only do I have to review my sister in movies, but now my stepfather has produced Metamorphosis. But fortunately, I'm able to say with absolute impartiality, Metamorphosis is strange, really strange. Steven Berkoff has adapted Kafka's short story about the man who awakes from uneven dreams to find himself a monstrous insect.
Caused by upward postures, which soon disappeared when I woke up.
It's true that Baryshnikov's accent is sometimes difficult to understand, but as a dancer, he's able to twist himself into double-jointed shapes as George Samsa, whose humanity is distorted by his oppressive life. Renee Aubergenois and Laura Easterman are his lazy, burdensome parents. T.J. Myers, the foolish-looking lodger.
Creep into my room and attack me in the dark! Please! I assure you that no such thing is possible. He's very mild and quite weak, and he hasn't been too well lately.
Laura Easterman is exceptionally good as the mother who would like to help her son, but she's afraid she'll faint. Steven Berkoff has created an oppressive, flat world in which Baryshnikov can creep. The action is highly stylized with exaggerated mime and slow-motion movements punctuated by odd sound effects like burps, bells, flatulence, and masticating. There are sudden bursts of white light that blind us as the resentful family moves through this cage-like gray interior. Well, this is odd stuff, and Baryshnikov is incredibly expressive as a bug. Metamorphosis. Weirdly wonderful.
A cockroach, was it?
A cockroach or a dung beetle,
Okay.
as they say.
Isn't that something?
All right,
Happy
Claire.
birthday, Willard.
Absolutely.
Opening tonight on Broadway is a new comedy from London. The play is called Run for Your Wife. And tonight, Stewart Klein, who always runs for his wife, joins us with his review. Stu.
I'm getting rather intimate with your
I'm
intro.
telling it like it is.
One of the backers of this play, according to the program, is one of the very few producers to have taken his show to Borneo. I want him to go back to Borneo with his play. Although I think even prehistoric natives in a Borneo rainforest would call this show crude. For Run for Your Wife is British sex farce at its worst. It is a play with one gag that is repeated endlessly, and minutes after the curtain rises, you start reading the program to learn about Borneo or anything else that will occupy your mind. The one gag, a bigamous cab driver tries to keep his two wives from learning about each other. The bigamist is played by Ray Cooney, the guy with the headband who looks about as virile as oatmeal. Cooney's prime ruse in misleading his wives and the police is pretending he is bisexual. This leads to approximately 3,000 homosexual jokes, which the British love and which are about as funny as Mrs. Thatcher. A very good comic actor, Paxton Whitehead, is wasted in this junk. Run for Your Life was written and directed by Cooney and co-produced by Paul Elliott, who, according to the playbill, says in Borneo, the local critic can tear you to shreds, literally. Mr. Elliott, if you think it's a jungle out there, wait till you hear from the New York critics. John?
You also, I don't know if you know it or not, but you had a little Freudian slip in there because you referred to the play as Run for Your Life. So I think maybe you were thinking of it.
Oh, Run for the Exit.
All right, finally, it had to happen.
The theater to see it.
Remember the Alec Guinness classic Captain's Paradise about a ship's captain with a wife in each port? This is the low-budget, low-charm, low-humor version about a London cab driver with a wife at each stop.
Oh, naughty, Oh, Barbara's a little bit on the side this year. There's more to Barbara than that. She's a big bit. Lovely.
A lot of leering Benny Hill jokes in Run for Your Life, an evening of comedy so bad, and even a fine actor like Paxton Whitehead can raise the level to just bad. Ray Cooney, who stars in the farce, both meanings he wrote and directed, has no charm whatsoever.
You've got 2 wives, yes, and 2 homes, yes? God almighty. I thought you were ordinary.
Not him, just the jokes. Eventually, the 2 wives meet, and I found this premise demeaning and sexist. Maybe that's why Paxton Whitehead tries to hide. In the second act, I tried to hide. Cooney tries to convince the cops he uses his second house as a homosexual rendezvous. The upstairs neighbor walks down a vicious caricature of a homosexual dressed in purple yet. And this is Broadway, 1989. And all I could think of was how the Broadway community has been literally decimated by AIDS. To be fair, the audience laughed, and Run for Your Wife is a big hit in London. But so's Kidney Pie. I'm Joel Siegel, Channel 7 Eyewitness News on Broadway.
All right, coming up next, Sam Champion's
Comedy on the London stage, and tonight it's come to Broadway. Run for Your Wife is a British farce about a cabbie who juggles 2 wives. He is here to tell us if it works on the Great White Way.
Thank you, Sue. He flips back and forth like an oversexed bumblebee, says one of bigamous John Smith in Run for Your Wife. There are 2 wives, 2 investigating policemen, and 2 upstairs neighbors running in and out of doors. Director-playwright Ray Cooney also stars as the taxi driver whose meticulously scheduled visits to his wives is ruined when he's hit over the head. Paxton Whitehead, with his distinctive baritone voice, plays farce splendidly. He's hilarious as one neighbor who tries to protect Smith with a series of inventions.
She's my wife. I beg your pardon? Barbara and I are married. Mary and you are married. That's true. You've got 2 wives, yes, and 2 homes, yes? God almighty. I thought you were ordinary.
I like Garrick Hunt's deadpan detective who smells a rat.
What do you think you're doing standing in the next district outside your jurisdiction, though, isn't it? Necessary to go. Oh, Mr. Gardner.
The second detective was okay, but the 2 wives were weak, indistinguishable, both as written and as performed. And Ray Cooney plays too much to the audience in self-conscious mugging for my taste, proving once again that directing yourself is risky. Paxton Whitehead can't carry everything. The play's funny, and it has some clever complications. Too bad Run for Your Wife didn't have better wives, among others.
Here.
Did Peter win a medal for surviving a cold?
Week on Broadway this week, the 3rd big Broadway opening of the week. Tonight, Joel Siegel has a review of the new comedy called The Heidi Chronicles. Here it is.
Scene 1, a high school dance, 1965. That's Heidi reading a book.
I appreciate bored people. Bored, depressed, anxious. These are the qualities I look for in a woman.
That's Peter. Boyd Gaines plays him. Joan Allen plays Heidi. 2 great performances. As chronicled by Wendy Wasserstein, a very funny playwright, there is terrific humor, but there's more. In quick strokes in a series of scenes, she creates real people. People we know. People we are.
I want to know you all my life.
And he will. The scenes take us through 25 years of their lives until today. Scene 2, 1968. Get out the vote for Gene McCarthy, and she meets the second man she'll know all her life. He's a journalist, and he's so arrogant, she tells him her name is Sue. But when he wants to take her home, he calls her Heidi.
I know your name is Heidi. Because it says so right there in your name tag. Heidi.
Scene 3, a woman's consciousness-raising group, 1969. Heidi becomes an art historian, a Ph.D., world famous, of the generation of women that believed they could have it all. This is a funny play. The men in Heidi's life, Scoop the journalist is too arrogant. Peter, who becomes a doctor, is gay. Alone and afraid, she's intimidated by the women in her exercise class who are married, who have children. Why is it, she asks, if you don't have it all, you feel worthless? Sometimes you have to bite your lip to keep from crying. Sometimes biting your lip doesn't help. This is a great play. I'm Joel Siegel, Channel 7 Eyewitness News on Broadway.
Opened on Broadway tonight. It's called The Heidi Chronicles. It stars Joan Allen, and it has nothing to do with a little girl living in the Swiss Alps. She is here with a review. No, it doesn't. Thanks, Sue. I'm planning to begin my family at 60. I understand there's a hormone in Brazil, quips Joan Allen as Heidi in this play, in which Heidi is swept along with the ideological shifts of the baby boomers. Radical politics, feminism, gay rights are all touched on in the 11 episodes that make up Wendy Wasserstein's play. And all through it, the question of babies and marriage.
Oh, Heidi! Oh, this is so pretty. Oh, look at its little head. I want to marry this.
From a 60s political rally to an 80s baby shower, Heidi chronicles her friends struggle with the choice between career or children, but the younger generation is unconcerned and confident.
Positive. That's good. And once my career is in place, I definitely want to have my children before I'm 30. I mean, isn't that what you guys fought for? So we can have it all? I mean, don't you want to have a family, Heidi? Yes, I hope so. Well, you have plenty of time, Heidi. Well, you almost got married in England. What happened? Oh, I got this job in Columbia, and he wanted to stay in London. Just so unfair.
Joan Allen is subdued but natural as Heidi, a shy, serious historian of female artists, whose two male friends, one her lover, the other gay, shows her the other side of her generation. The jokes about consciousness raising and McCarthy rallies are funny, but the play seems to wind down as it goes along into a repetitious pattern, and by the 80s, nothing is funny to Heidi or the audience. The Heidi Chronicles, though, has some adept performances and a bittersweet look at where we've been. Tony.
Yes, thank you.
It just sort of dribbles away, unfortunately. Like Heidi herself, the play is sincere and smart and quietly odd.
Should have been a diary entry instead of a chronicle.
Well,
Okay. Well,
That's it.
not altogether happy tonight, is he? That is Channel 2 News at 11. I'm Brian Williams.
I'm Karen.
The Winter's Tale, and a man who tells no tales joins us now with his review. I do not lie, do I, Stu?
You speak with none forthcoming.
I like that.
Some scholars believe this is the last play Shakespeare wrote, and its theme is reconciliation. The passage of time heals all wounds. A man in his old age is forgiven for the sins of his youth. And what sins?
Take it up, I say! Give it to thy crown!
Forever.
In Act 1, in the dead of winter, a Sicilian king goes nutso and thinks his innocent pregnant wife and boyhood friend are committing adultery. In an insane fit of jealousy, the king condemns his wife, causes the death of his young son, and orders the murder of his baby daughter and his old pal. In Act 2, 16 years later, it is spring. The baby daughter, wife, and old friend have all managed to survive. There's a royal wedding, and they somehow forgive the penitent old king. All is sweetness and light, and given the far-fetched plot, James Lapine is justified in staging it as a fantasy set in the 18th century. Act 2 has a nice, sweet touch. But the 95-minute first act is a yawn.
Let him be until a time may serve. For present vengeance, take it on her.
As King Leontes, Mandy Patinkin is fine when spewing venom, but most of the time he resembles a dull insurance salesman, softly delivering his lines with a head-bobbing, sing-song intonation. As his suffering wife, Diane Venora, is adequate, and as his friend Polixenes, Christopher Reeve, the Man of Steel, is weak. He is stiff on stage, and his voice doesn't project. The most spirited moments are provided by Alfre Woodard as Paulina, who sasses the misguided king.
I come from your good queen.
Good queen.
Good queen, my lord, good queen. I say good queen, and would by combat make her good.
And as the rogue Autolycus, one of the bard's great clowns, Rocco Sisto is over-ripo.
Ring the alarm bell. The winner's tale is number 8 in Joe Papp's Shakespeare Marathon, with 28 more to come. There is still time for improvement. John?
And you've got to see every single one of them, Stewart. Just remember that.
They call a tiny amount. It's
Spread with the butter dripping off the side, down the side. Oh, that drives me crazy.
what real excitement.
The club about 4 guys in alimony jail. It was written by 2 well-known composers, Cy Coleman, A.E. Hotchner. Our theater critic, Jeffrey Lyons, is here with a review.
Say that again. Theater. Well, Brett, Welcome to the Club is one of those innocuous, workmanlike musicals Broadway sends us now and then. The type to provide some momentary laughs, but not too much more. There is at least some sweetness afoot here, which I like. This evening does feature Marilyn Sokol, among others, that engaging all-around performer, here as very Jewish wife of Avery Schreiber. He's one of 4 men in the New York City alimony jail. One by one, each man dreams about better times, either past or, in this case, in the future. Like this fantasy of Schreiber's, his escape to Rio, which includes somehow his inescapable ex-wife. The glitziness afoot here does momentarily dress up the threadbare set. This is, after all, a one-joke premise stretched to the absolute limit. Composer Cy Coleman, who wrote Barnum and On the 20th Century, among others, teamed with A.E. Hotchner, sometime adapter of Ernest Hemingway's work, and a fine writer in his own right who did the book and lyrics here. They've made a conventional musical, one to see, I suppose, because of the likability of Marilyn Sokol and Avery Schreiber and the rest of the cast, but only see it if Les Miserables, Phantom of the Opera, and Jerome Robbins' Broadway are all sold out. I'm Jeffrey Lyons. Sheila?
Well, they are going to be sold out for a while,
They
so
sure
it looks
will.
like this is
You
the
don't
one
know.
to see.
So.
Okay, thank you, Jeffrey.
Right. And a new musical comedy opened tonight on Broadway. It's called Welcome to the Club. And Stewart Klein joins us now with his review. Stu, are you laughing?
Right now I am.
Uh-oh.
The setting is New York alimony jail, the club only for members who haven't paid their dues. Inside the relaxed slammer are 4 guys, either divorced or separated, but all in arrears. And all of them are cartoons. It's hard to believe the characters when one of them says he made an alimony payment of $800, all in dimes, stuck in a bucket of molasses. So credibility is already in danger as the guys whine sourly about spouses who are uniformly deceitful or nagging. They also have fantasies, such as escaping to Rio. As you can see, the show's budget wasn't exactly extravagant, and there are similar amiable but silly production numbers about Miami Beach, the Old South, and cowgirls. The last 2 numbers are instigated by a female country singer who joins the guys in alimony jail. The music by Cy Coleman is pleasant but derivative and sounds like tunes he's written before. A.E. Hotchner wrote the Limp book, which includes gags I have heard many times before. Example, why does a Jewish divorce cost so much? Because It's worth it. Old. Coleman and Hutchner collaborated on the lyrics, which are tired. The performers are appealing, including Marcia Mitzman, the jolly tub Avery Schreiber, and Marlon Sokol as his kvetching ex-wife who would make love only on holidays. So, some solid actors, but Welcome to the Club is relentlessly ordinary and mostly unfunny. Not the best attributes for Broadway musical comedy. Huh?
All right, Stewart.
His new musical, Welcome to the Club, and
Yankees have to Broadway tonight. Welcome to the Club opened there. Joel Siegel was there watching the show starring Avery Schreiber. Joel, welcome to the club and your review.
Not a winning streak. My first note was, what year is this? The biggest laughs are old jokes, the guy complaining about his post-divorce apartment. Thieves broke in and felt so sorry for me, they left me a radio. That's Rodney Dangerfield, 1971, and he didn't get no respect. It's set, staged, and costumed like a college review out of the 50s. The club is alimony jail, and there isn't an alimony jail anymore, and there aren't people like these anymore either. None of the wives work. They all live off their husbands. That's not real. They've never heard of marriage counselors or psychiatry or Oprah Winfrey. It is hideously sexist and mean-spirited. There is a tuneful Cy Coleman score and some fine performances. Marilyn Sokol is a favorite, and I love Avery Schreiber. He's funny, very good singing voice, and so good-looking. Curly hair, mustache, what a good-looking guy. Welcome to the Club does break a Broadway musical language barrier. It sets a record for profane language in the dialogue, in the songs, and by the second act from the audience. Ultimately, this is a play that says, marriage is better than jail, but maybe not much. The same could be said for this play.
What a good-looking guy. Thank you.
Of course, on Broadway, in a musical by the man who gave us Sweet Charity. This new show is called Welcome to the Club, and it looks at one of the realities of breaking up, alimony. Our entertainment editor, Dennis Cunningham, has a review. What do you think?
Michelle, I'll tell you what I think. First, composer Cy Coleman can surely write show tunes. He has many of them, not only good ones, but even a couple of the classic ones. And he's written some good new ones for the new musical Welcome to the Club. There is one terrible oversight, however, as written by A.E. Hotchner. Welcome to the Club is amazingly vague, mixed up, childishly vulgar, and out of focus. What's happened here is that there is no show for the show tunes.
And if she makes a positive identification, you face a felony charge for jailbreak.
The musical is set in alimony jail, populated by guys who haven't paid their alimony. And that, you see, is the club. But there never is a welcome, as it turns out, because Welcome to the Club is about alimony jail and 18 songs, and no, as it turns out, plot. And that is why the songs, pleasing though they are, undoubtedly why they wander desperately from today's Miami Beach to yesterday's Old South. There are no really outstanding performances here either, and that doesn't help. But what critically wounds the show is the book of the musical, the show that is no help at all to the Cy Coleman tunes. This is supposed to be about love and marriage and compromise and genuine heartfelt emotion, though it all seems based on old vaudeville skits. The emotion is non-existent, actually, and the comedy is nothing but low. I mean, low. It's the sort of dialogue that finds the mere word Zabar's hilarious, and Bloomingdale's, that word, law, what a comic uproar. And the name Dr. Ruth, please, my heart can't take the hilarity. P.S. to show you just how low down things get here, there's actually a joke about Alzheimer's disease. This is a club you don't want a welcome to. Bad.
We need a plot. We need
a plot. We've got the songs. We need
Really?
You reviewed it here.
Yeah. Wow.
You haven't changed the bits, Terry.
Let's see whether he gives this a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Opening tonight on Broadway, an unusual new play starring Bill Irwin. The play is called Largely New York, and Stewart Klein joins us now with his review. Stu.
Thanks, Corinne. What makes this play so unusual? Well, for openers, it has no words. It's silent comedy. Bill Irwin, who bears a resemblance to the Mad Hatter, plays a character called the postmodern Hoofer. He carries a remote control widget which constantly breaks, lowering the curtain and cutting off music. And he wanders around the city having recurring encounters with a solo dancer with whom he instantly falls in love with a pair of break dancers. And he keeps wrangling with several large groups of people and with a TV camera. Irwin interacts with videotape. He mimes being sucked into the television screen and emerges moments later from a large trunk. There's a running gag with one extra who falls off the stage into the orchestra pit, and the guy enjoys it so much he's soon taking swan dives and backflips into the pit with the rest of the cast following suit. And with his running battle with technology, Irwin at one point gets tangled in the curtain and is raised to the ceiling. Irwin, who wrote and directed the play, is an incredibly mobile clown with a rubbery face and body. And in this 75-minute show, played without intermission, he gives us a mixture of dance, mime, magic, burlesque, and very gentle humor. Irwin's satire does not have the bite of Chaplin's war with machinery in modern times. Still, it's sweet and breezy fun. Bill Irwin and Company in largely New York, a silent comedy punctuated frequently by loud laughter from the audience. It may not suit every taste, but it's frothy fun as light as a feather, and by all means, take the kids. John?
All right, Stuart, you said this is the last...
This tonight is the official end of the 1988-89 Broadway season, so this was the last entry of the season. The Tony Award nominations will be announced next Monday.
Will there be any nominees?
Yes, there will be nominees, but whether they're worthy of being nominated, it's been a very slim season.
I know, you said it's been pretty bleak, huh?
Yeah.
Well, better luck next year.
All right.
For all of us. Finally, you want to talk about life imitating art?
Broadway play ever produced by Walt Disney Studios and the last to qualify for this season's Tony Awards. The show is called Largely New York, and surprisingly, the actors don't say a word. Entertainment editor Dennis Cunningham joins us now with a review, and you can talk.
Yes, I will. Just briefly. Anyway, in the theater world, of course, imagination is to be supported, encouraged, of course, especially on Broadway, but only up to a point, that point when it comes time to deliver. This new piece called Largely New York is clearly a work of imagination, and just as clearly, it doesn't deliver. If there's a point here, and there hardly is, it has to do with Bill Irwin as an innocent coming in touch with these robot academics, with a couple of break dancers, with a fetching ballet dancer, the sudden love of his life, and with a TV camera and monitor which inspires the single most inventive moment of the evening. The elements of the work called Largely New York each are quite okay in brief doses, but together and repeated, they add up to a mere meandering trifle. Yes, a mere meandering trifle, and it's hard to meander when you're only an hour and 10 minutes long, and even at that length, you may well wonder when it's going to end. There's just not enough going on the stage to make you wonder how it's going to end. The piece doesn't engage you. So all you're dealing with is a certain cleverness, and a certain cleverness just wears out. P.S., I can only imagine the show's called Largely New York, not because it captures the spirit of this city, which it doesn't, but because in this city, Largely New York is a better title to sell tickets by than, say, Largely Jacksonville. That's it.
Was it hard for the audience to stay concentrated on this thing?
It's funny you should ask that. I was not going to say this, but you'll push me. I looked around. A lot of people were checking their watches. And it's only 70 minutes long. Yeah. A lot of people were and they gave it everything. I know, as I did. Like, they gave it all the best wishes.
Maybe they should give it subtitles.
And Best Actor. Sharing the most nominations overall, 10 each, are Jerome Robbins' Broadway and Black and Blue. John.
Roz, call it sport or call it entertainment?
980.
88-89 season were announced today. Pia was there. She joins us to tell us who got the nod for this year's Tonys.
Thank you, Sue. The categories of Best Score and Best Book for a musical were eliminated this year, and that says it all. There were plays, but there were hardly any musicals on Broadway. Only 3 musicals were nominated, and 2 of those were really reviews of older material. Jerome Robbins' Broadway took the most nominations with 10, Black and Blue the runner-up with 8 nominations. The nominations were announced at Sardi's restaurant by previous Tony winners.
The nominees for Best Direction of a Musical are Larry Carpenter, Starmites; Jerome Robbins Broadway; Peter Mark Shifter, Welcome to the Club; Claudia Segovia, Hector Orozoli for Black and Blue.
Black and Blue took a nod for Best Choreography and brought nominations for Best Actress in a Musical to Ruth Brown and Linda Hopkins. Tap dance veteran Bunny Briggs and young Savion Glover took nominations for Best Featured Actor in a Musical. Jerome Robbins' Broadway, which fought to be included in the Best Musical category and what is fundamentally a revival of his best numbers, took 10 nominations in all, including Best Actor for Jason Alexander and Robert LaFosse, and Jerome Robbins as Best Director of a Musical. Starmites was the 3rd musical nominated. This unpretentious teenage fantasy collected 6 nominations in a year when there was little competition. Mikhail Baryshnikov was nominated as Best Actor in a Play for his first dramatic role in Metamorphosis. British actress Pauline Collins was nominated as Best Actress for the one-woman show Shirley Valentine, which was nominated as Best Play as well. Kate Nelligan was nominated as Best Actress for Spoils of War. The Heidi Chronicles, Wendy Wasserstein's feminist play, was awarded 6 nominations, including Best Play and Best Actress for Joan Allen and Best Director for Daniel Sullivan. The comedy Lend Me a Tenor struck a high note with 6 nominations, including Best Play, Best Performance by an Actor for both Philip Bosco and Victor Garber, Best Supporting Actress for Tova Felcha, and Best Director for Jerry Zaks.
Oh, my God, he's got another one. Who are you? A friend of the family. Who are you? The family.
Bill Irwin's play Largely New York won 4 nominations, 3 of them for him personally as Best Actor, Best Director, and Best Play. Madeline Kahn was nominated for Best Actress in a Play for her role in the revival of Born Yesterday. Well, if it wasn't the year for the musical, it was the year for the revival. 4 excellent revivals were nominated: Cafe Crown, Our Town, Ain't Misbehavin', and Awe Wilderness. And the results will be announced on June 4th, and we'll be there.
Thank you, Pia.
Companies are getting unsatisfied.
Say the way they ought to be. I didn't say that right.
Broadway's lesser seasons, but Tony Award nominations were announced today at Sardi's restaurant nonetheless by, among others, Leslie Uggams. And these were the nominations of more than routine interest. As expected, the musical called Jerome Robbins Broadway, a compilation of 20 years of Broadway work, walked off in double digits, 10 nominations. The musical Black and Blue, also as expected, and another compilation, tied Jerome Robbins Broadway with 10 of its own nominations. The other musical nominee, a small comic book fantasy called Starmites. Only 3 musicals were nominated in this category this year instead of the usual 4, underscoring a lack of Broadway musical activity. In the play Metamorphosis, Mikhail Baryshnikov portrays a man who becomes an insect. And for his trouble, Mr. Baryshnikov received a Best Actor nomination for his Broadway acting debut. The Best Play nominees included the madcap farce Lend Me a Tenor and the Pulitzer Prize-winning play The Heidi Chronicles. However, the Best Play category is most notable this year for its other 2 most unusual nominees. The play Shirley Valentine was nominated as Best Play, even though the actress Pauline Collins as Shirley Valentine is the only person to appear on stage. And Bill Irwin's work entitled Largely New York was also nominated for Best Play, even though not a word of dialogue is ever spoken. It's been that sort of Broadway season. In the play category, the most nominations went not to the Heidi Chronicles, which won the Pulitzer Prize, but to the madcap comedy Lend Me a Tenor, 7 nominations. And in the sad state of musicals department, there was no category at all this year for Best Musical Score or Best Musical Book. The Tony Awards will be on CBS June 4th. CBS.
Is that a first? But no nomination?
No, they've done things like that from time to time.
Judge, this is not a case of monetary...
And this compilation of excerpts from old Robin's shows is a shoe-in winner. The other nominees are Black and Blue, a bland review, and Starmites, a sci-fi musical and a galactic bomb. The field is so thin that musical categories of Best Score and Best Book were eliminated, and while the Jerome Robbins show is all dance, because it is not original, it does not qualify for Best Choreography.
Are you proud of yourself? You feel better now? Huh?
For Best Play, the nominees are Lend Me a Tenor, a so-so farce, Largely New York, Bill Irwin's gentle silent comedy, Shirley Valentine, the one-woman play about a bored and rebellious housewife, and the brilliant Pauline Collins was nominated for Best Actress, as was the splendid Joan Allen for The Heidi Chronicles, the Pulitzer Prize comedy and certain winner. Also up for Best Actress, Madeline Kahn of Born Yesterday and Kate Nelligan of Spoils of War. Best Actor in a Play, Bill Irwin, the badly directed Mikhail Baryshnikov in Metamorphosis, and Philip Bosco and Victor Garber of Lend Me a Tenor. Nominated musical performers include Jason Alexander, Robert LaFosse, and Charlotte Dambois of Jerome Robbins Broadway, Linda Hopkins and Ruth Brown of Black and Blue, and Assorted Starmites. In short, Broadway, for the most part, bombed out this season. It wasn't too long ago that the Tonys were exciting, and competing against each other were George C. Scott, John Gielgud, and Hume Cronin, and Gwen Verdon, Angela Lansbury, and Chita Rivera, and Gower champion Bob Fosse and Michael Bennett. Now, we have Starmites. The winners will be announced June 4th, but the Tony Awards now seem minor league. John?
All right, Stuart. Still ahead. Donald Trump's victory.
Classic is back.
Mind. Or maybe give him a piece.
He has a preview of the fall season on the Great White Way.
Anything will be an improvement over last year. Remember Starmites and Legs Diamond? And at rehearsal halls all over town, Broadway is gearing up for a new season that shows promise.
I told you, Mary, from the gate to whatever that is. If it's a rainy night and we just have to fight.
That's choreographer Peter Gennaro putting Sting through his paces for the new production of the Three-Penny Opera. And this show is one reason why the new Broadway season has many observers feeling good.
At this stage of the game, at the beginning of the season, everybody has to be optimistic. This season, as opposed to the last 3 seasons, there are 19 new shows coming in before the first of the year. Last year, there were only 6.
And the new shows include what last year looked almost extinct, new American musicals.
Meet me in St. Louis, Louis, meet me at the fair.
The new musicals include Meet Me in St. Louis, based on the delightful Judy Garland movie and retaining many of the same songs. Grand Hotel, directed by Tommy Tune and based on the old Crawford Barrymore Garbo movie about love and intrigue at a Berlin hotel in the late 20s. And Annie 2, the sequel bringing back the little orphan and no doubt her dog, too. One thing that Broadway will not have this season is a new giant British musical with $1 zillion worth of scenery.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be anything like that this season. Later in this season, Andrew Lloyd Webber's new musical Aspects of Love will be done here, but that is not a big musical.
It's a little intimate
Yeah, it's
show.
More of a chamber musical, as I understand it.
Sting, turning up as Mac the Knife in the revival of the Brecht Weill Three-Penny Opera, is not the only bit of surprise casting of the new season. Television cop Tyne Daly will play Mama Rose, the role created by Ethel Merman in Gypsy, the Julie Stein classic musical about stripper Gypsy Rose Lee. and the advertising people are already in mid-season form.
Drop everything. See Gypsy at the St. James Theater.
The busiest writer in town, Larry Gelbart, the creator of MASH and the author of 2 incoming shows, City of Angels, a musical, and Mastergate, a play.
I walk into a rehearsal hall, and if they're not singing, I know I'm at the play. and if they aren't singing, then I'm at the musical.
Mastergate concerns a televised congressional hearing into a government scandal, and it satirizes Watergate, Iran, Contragate, Ollie North, and more. Here, the congressmen grill the Secretary of State.
The president had no idea that his people eventually pumped $1 billion, $1 billion into the so-called filming of a movie, but actually for the purchase of illicit arms in a manner so devious, so deceitful, that it calls into question the judgment of those of you who are closest to the president, yet who kept him farthest from the facts.
Yes, mistakes were made, some dreadful ones, but they were honest mistakes, honestly made, honestly driven.
Good. That's good.
And it is clear that Gelbart is not a fan of the Reagan White House.
Obviously, I wasn't in favor of a great deal of the Reagan administration. I think starting with the inaugural ball, the first one.
In other upcoming plays, Oscar winner Dustin Hoffman returns to the stage as Shylock in The Merchant of Venice. Vanessa Redgrave stars in a revival of Tennessee Williams' Orpheus Descending. And Rex Harrison stars in a revival of The Circle by Somerset Maugham, co-starring Glynis Johns, and in his Broadway debut, 76-year-old Stewart Granger, who says he's terrified of the stage and of New York City.
New York is rush. I mean, coming here every morning, coming here in the taxi, well, it's a car, is terrifying. I mean, it's 20 minutes of horror, of whoosh, boom, ah, and shouting and screaming. That's just coming to work.
Well, on behalf of all of us in New York, welcome and break a leg.
Thank you.
And there are more new plays coming in.
Of course, what would a season be without Neil Simon? He's coming in with a play called Jake's Women later in the season. August Wilson, a fine playwright with the piano lesson. One British play, Peter Shaffer's Lettuce and Lovage with Maggie Smith coming in. I think we're going to have a strong category there for the Tony Awards, too.
And other possible projects include a new musical based on The Thin Man, another new musical based on the movie Fame, and a revival of Fiddler on the Roof with Topol. Mazel tov. And before the reviews come in, the new Broadway season looks good. This is Stewart Klein.
Well, it looks like some waterlogged folks in Atlanta have claimed a new world record.
Now with his review, Stu.
Thanks, Corinne. In foggy old London, an eerie factory whistle pierces the darkness, and so begins the slashing saga of that legendary cut-up.
Sweeney Todd, the demon of the street.
Yes, Sweeney is the 19th century madman who indiscriminately cuts throats, and the corpses are then baked into meat pies by his mad mistress.
Crazy man. Killing a man what's done you no harm is the lighthouse day.
He recognized me from the old days. Tried to blackmail me. Half my earnings forever.
Oh, well, that's a different matter.
How can a homicidal maniac be a musical hero? Well, Sweeney went crazy after a crooked judge jailed him, despoiled his wife, and stole his daughter. And if the rich can grow fat off the poor, why can't the poor literally eat the rich? In the original production, giant steel girders symbolized the horrors of the Industrial Revolution. In this vest pocket revival, clotheslines with hanging wash achieve the same end, and the intimacy heightens the drama. And Bob Gunton is riveting as a touching Sweeney.
Fascinating, sipping coffee, dancing pretty women.
Pretty Women is one of the glories of Stephen Sondheim's magnificent score, which has songs of tender beauty, racking pain, and rollicking humor. As Mrs. Lovett, Beth Fowler is enjoyably obsessed, but she won't make you forget Angela Lansbury, and there's always the problem of this theater's acoustics. Otherwise, this Sweeney is a triumph.
Singing the window, standing on the stair. Something in them cheers the air. Pretty women, sweater, stay within you.
Directed by Susan Schulman, Stephen Sondheim's Sweeney Todd, a brilliant revival of a brilliant musical. Get your tickets. It's Broadway at its best. John?
All right, Stewart, a story now that every man in the country can...
Broadway, Sweeney Todd was a smash hit 10 years ago, you'll recall, with Angela Lansbury playing Sweeney's sidekick. This year, the stars have changed, but as Dennis Cunningham is here to tell us now, the thrill is still there. Dennis.
That is for sure. Is this new production, maybe some wonder, small and intimate, this new production? Is it as good as the original 1979 production? Awesome and overpowering? No. And some night we'll have a nice little chat comparing the two. But the most important thing now is that this small Sweeney Todd does manage something awesome throughout. It makes it very clear that Stephen Sondheim's Sweeney Todd is brilliant, not just one of Broadway's best ever, but beyond that, I'm convinced of this, a work of theatrical genius.
Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd, set in the grime of turn-of-the-century industrial London, a story harsh and grim, a story of a barber avenging himself on his hated life by murdering his customers. A barber who meets up with Mrs. Lovett, an amoral woman whose meat pie business becomes enormously successful after she and Sweeney decide to work together. Her pies, his customers. Yes, the musical is finally a bleak opera set in a world ruled by money and injustice and corruption. It is finally also a terrifying experience, and I certainly wouldn't take kids to see this, but it is throughout, as I said earlier, brilliant, and it is throughout exhilarating in its brilliance.
Meeting anyone and to anyone.
Yeah, now sometimes this production under the loving direction of Susan Schulman does tend to get too cutesy, too jokey, and I do wish there were maybe 6 more cast members. I was afraid Sweeney was going to run out of victims. But the talented folk here are totally at the service of Sondheim's music and lyrics, Hugh Wheeler's book, Hal Prince's original production, and they are just the things to serve, believe you me. So do, please, as the first line of the play says, attend the tale of Sweeney Todd, who served a dark and a vengeful God.
For most of this century, the song ended, but perhaps it really didn't, when Irving Berlin died Friday at the age of 101. At sundown tonight, there was a candlelight vigil at Berlin's townhouse on Beekman Place in Manhattan. Berlin had lived quietly there for many years. The mourners gathered outside the house in tribute tonight, sang Berlin's God Bless America.
Classic Orpheus Descending opened tonight at the Neil Simon Theater on Broadway, and News 4's Pia Lindstrom is back with a review. Pia.
Thank you, Carol. Orpheus Descending isn't one of Tennessee Williams' best plays, but Vanessa Redgrave gives a grand, vigorous performance. She dominates the stage with her tall, agile physical presence, her powerful vocal delivery, her ability to go from trembling shyness to volatile abusiveness. She plays Lady Torrance in a mock Italian accent with such verve that the play is not so much Orpheus Descending as Lady Torrance Rising.
That sounded like boards contracting with cold in the building.
Kevin Anderson plays the classic Tennessee Williams character, a stranger in town. Valentine Xavier, a burnt-out gigolo, with a boyish delivery, more likely to bring out Lady Torrance's maternal instinct. A stronger Valentine would have balanced the play.
Too light-skinned to be Italian.
Most people in this country think Italian people are dark. Some are, but not all are. Some of them are fair, very fair. My father's people were dark, and my mother's people were fair.
Especially good, Sloane Shelton in her savage monologue as Beulah. Tammy Grimes' particular delivery works well here as the sheriff's wife. Peter Hall's menacing staging with its chilling sound effects and ominous light changes accentuate the cruel racial bigotry and sadistic violence of Orpheus Descending. It's a difficult play, but one which offers a personal triumph for Vanessa Redgrave.
All right, Peter,
That's what I was looking for.
You are what you...
Pia, the fall feeling continues. Linda's forecast.
Saw Mastergate, and Pia's here with an opening night review. Thank you, Sue. In Larry Gelbart's comic play on words, Congressman Oral Proctor leads the investigation into the governmental self-abuse known as Mastergate to find out why the CIA secretly took over a film company and spent $1 billion to make Tet the movie. The stage and part of the auditorium are set as a hearing room, complete with TV cameras, monitors, and witnesses and congressmen who joust with the English language.
If we as a nation have learned anything from water and Iran-Contra gates, it is that those who forget the past are certain to be subpoenaed.
Did the president know of the master plan?
I was told he didn't know.
By whom?
By the same people that told him he didn't know.
The president then, to the best of your knowledge, had absolutely none of his own.
Now, he may have had knowledge of it without knowing that he did.
Well, that was Major Manly Battle. All of the characters have crazy names like Wiley Slaughter of the CIA. I howled at some of the double-talk puns, non-sequiturs, malapropes, circumlocutions, mumbo-jumbo, and lawyer lingo. But for all of its adroit use of absurd language, Mastergate is more an exercise in verbal cleverness than a solid play. It's funny, but incomplete.
Words we have in abundance. Wonderful words, nonsensical words, ferocious words, incisive words, lunatic words. Those words giving rise to many one-liners ranging from amusing to uproarious. But it's impossible to sustain that comedy without a play to support it. And oddly enough, what we don't have here is a play.
Oh, too bad.
It is.
Words.
Good words, but it doesn't add up.
All right. Thank you.
Movies, because this is opening day for Woody Allen's latest.
Stewart Klein took it in, and he's here now with his review. Stewart?
Thanks, John. This English import is yet another piece of Maggie bashing, with Mrs. Thatcher's Tory society described as a sanctification of greed. And a female politician who bears a resemblance to Thatcher is a Lulu, a shrill, cold fish incapable of orgasm who steals jewelry from a corpse. Not too much subtlety here.
Come on, Ted. You know what politics is, finally. Politics is being there every day. And you know it's true. You have to be there. I'm there every day, aren't I, darling?
You are. This is the Thatcher character, and a battle in her own family triggers the play. The ruthless junior cabinet minister is brought together with her gentle sister by the death of their father. They argue over the estate and over what to do with their father's alcoholic young widow. And the fight escalates with lethal consequences when the minister's husband buys a small design company owned by the sister. With a vicious takeover and, quote, loathsome materialism, the family battle is a parable for Thatcher's me-first society. And there is some humor. Sister catches her lover with another woman, and she has this suggestion when the other woman asks for a bidet.
There's no bidet, there's everything else, but if that's what you need, you can always do handstands in the shower.
And the Thatcher character is a steady comic target. She's described as, quote, someone who permanently gives off a ringing tone. But I'm afraid the laughs at her expense are repetitive and wane quickly, and so does the play, despite the solid performances of Frances Conroy, Blair Brown, and the ensemble, including Mary Beth Hurt as the widow. Playwright David Hare, the author of Plenty, more often than not writes turgid dialogue. His plot clanks along with not enough humor, and a climactic outburst of violence is far-fetched. All of it is very slow-going. Playwright David Hare has been talking a lot of late. At the New York Film Festival, he put down American films, although his own new movie got mixed reviews. And the other day, he put down Broadway plays. And now his own play, The Secret Rapture, is a loser. I would suggest to Mr. Hare, if he will accept a quaint Americanism, sir, put up or shut up. Huh?
Well said, Mr. Klein. Right now, the police in Newark, as we told you at the top of...
Kind of play? This is serious drama, very British. A slice of life cut so deeply it's almost clinical in the way it peels away layers to reveal skin and bone and often raw nerve. Blair Brown is one of those people who's just good, decent. Her sister, Frances Conway, is a properly selfish conservative deputy minister of the environment who tells an anti-nuclear power group, come back and see me when you glow in the dark. Their father has just died. Who will take care of his young widow, a former drug addict played by Mary Beth Hurt, who is evil. The play begins with a funeral. It will end with one. In between, powerful drama, cutting wit, and superb performances from three excellent actresses. A play is supposed to take you someplace, and the second act of Secret Rapture is off track. It becomes a political drama. We witness the symbolic death of liberalism in Thatcherite England. But we also see the death of a good person, the end of a family. This is serious drama you take with you, and that makes Secret Rapture the kind of theater I hope doesn't stay secret for long. I'm Joel Siegel, Channel 7 Eyewitness News on Broadway.
Some open rapture. Thank you, Sue. Well, first I thought this was a Mrs. Thatcher, Jim Baker satire, but then The Secret Rapture bumbled into melodrama. But Francis...
The opening night, curtain went up tonight on Secret Rapture, and Channel 2's entertainment editor, Dennis Cunningham, is here with a review. Dennis?
Ernie, I thank you. It's evident that British playwright David Hare has written some electric dialogue, some vibrant characters, some vivid entire scenes. What he seems not to have written is an entire play, and certainly not an electric, vibrant, or vivid one. In fact, there are specific dialogue, characters, and scenes which are deadly dull. A lot of Act 1, for example. Of course, some blame must be placed on the play's director, but he also is playwright David Hare.
Yes, all right. Funeral center.
The play's very title, The Secret Rapture, is insistently obscure, as obscure, in fact, as is the heart of the play. Nothing obscure, however, about the greed and egotism of Margaret Thatcher's England, though that certainly holds very limited appeal here in the colonies. Blair Brown plays the central character, and I think she's supposed to be a rare, good person whose goodness confounds the world she lives in, and who finds genuine joy only in her death. I think.
Please, don't blame me.
Yeah, we're certainly not blaming you, Mary Beth. She's Mary Beth Hurt. She gives one of the play's two outstanding performances, the other outstanding by the terrific Frances Conroy. That's right, the central character is not blessed by an outstanding performance from Blair Brown. Not at all. The production, lights, costume, especially sets by Sandro Lacrosto, first rate. The play is not. The Rapture remains secret.
So is Blair Brown miscast in this? Or?
She's either, it's hard to tell, but she's either miscast or at sea. The director seems to have let her down, or she's miscast. It's hard to tell. But I don't want to beat up on her.
Because we love her on television.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you,
Dennis. Thank you. That's Channel 2 News at 11. I'm Michelle.
This was the night for a comeback. The comedian who starred in the show of shows during the golden age of television is lighting up the Broadway stage. Arts and entertainment editor Dennis Cunningham is here now to review Sid Caesar and Company. Dennis?
Yeah, Ernie, thank you. Sid Caesar remains an astonishing comedy talent. Great news both for those who cherish him from his phenomenal days on 50s television and on Broadway and Little Me, and even for those who are not all that familiar with him. However, even an astonishing comedy talent can do little to conquer the negative forces at work here, because those forces are the show that carries Sid Caesar back to Broadway. The usual term for that is his vehicle. What we have here, unfortunately, is more like a rickety contraption.
Whoa! Sketches, skits, solos, many solos actually, though they at times do showcase inspired clowning, do also, and pretty soon at that, we're very thin. There is a supporting cast of 7, which is seldom asked to support, and doesn't support anyway on the very few times it is asked. Worse than that is the overall direction of the evening. It doesn't seem to have any. Things are so unpolished and so free-floating, in fact, that this Broadway show quickly turns out to be just television, only farther away.
So there you unfortunately have it, an astonishing comedy talent floating way out there somewhere with no support despite a supporting cast of 7, and with no direction despite a successful veteran director listed in the program. I think it's especially interesting that no one receives any credit for writing any of this. I thought that was odd until it struck me that maybe none of it was written.
Oh,
Too bad.